Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, we want to thank you so much for joining us in this third week of 2019. Now, last week, which marked the third week of this year, has had a lot of stories in Uganda that have developed from all corners, from entertainment to politics to economics to everything within the society. Many have gained out of it, but it appears to be the majority have lost. And in this, I look into the entertainment industry. There have been new proposed laws against the entertainment industry that some musicians are coming out to say, no, this does not favor us, it does not favor the fans. And others are saying, yes, maybe this is true. We have to embrace these laws. On top of that, the security in our neighboring country in Kenya also brought up some alarming stories in which we saw many people losing lives, and of course, that is a sign in Uganda to ask our security officers whether Ugandans are safe. Among other stories that developed last week, we saw NRM youths coming up to strike against the British Embassy and of course storming Parliament over the same case of the British or the House of Commons discussing the affairs of Uganda. Among other stories that developed last week, I think some of those that we are going to be discussing here this Saturday with Hilary Taylor and Sarah Joy. Joining us from wherever you are, tell us where you are right now. Tell us what you think about the discussions we're going to have this night. Comment, send your questions, and we'll be answering them here. We do believe that this is going to be a very interesting show and a story to talk about. Uganda at Crossroads. Invite your friend, invite your colleague, and those you think are very well in need of this information. We want to thank you so much, and I want to thank you guys for coming again. Last week, of course, was a very interesting week. Many stories came up in Uganda. And first of all, I'm not going to ask you immediately. I want you to talk to the public before we even start. Let me start with Hilary.
All right, greetings to all our dear comrades who are viewing or watching us live on this wonderful talk show, Uganda Crossroads. My name is Seguya Hilary Innocent Taylor. I'm exceedingly humbled and honored to be always here to talk about issues at hand in our country, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. I believe that very soon we shall free our country from the hands of the dictator, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We are saying that 33 years of one person in power is enough, and the time is up to get a new fundamental change that is going to work for each and every Ugandan. So I give you hope that change is coming. So let's be hopeful.
Sarah, I can't jump the story. What do you have for the public before we start the show?
What can I say? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon to people who are watching us here in USA, and good evening to people in Uganda and other countries.
Good evening, everyone watching us from Africa or other countries. We are glad to be here yet again so much is happening in Uganda, because every week we are here, we're discussing fresh stuff or information coming up from Uganda. And it's so interesting. It's become like a movie. Hollywood has moved to Uganda. We are, every time there's something new coming up, all the time. And it is interesting because it gives us something to discuss whenever we sit here.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Now, I think we have a lot to talk about, but I'll go straight away from the most interesting part of the new regulations against the musicians or the entertainment industry in Uganda. Now, we should be clear, as a matter of fact, that these are just drafts. They're not laws yet. They have not been forwarded to the floor of parliament, but they have brought in so many questions from different perspectives, inclusive of politicians, the entertainment industry, the members of the entertainment industry, and of course the public, we the fans. So on that note, recently there was a meeting that was held to discuss on the key issues that are happening, that are going on in this new proposed bill to regulate the entertainment industry. Now, I want to start with Hilary before I go to Sarah. What's your view on that?
Well, the regulations, they are very clear. They show us a true image of our motherland, Uganda, that we are living in a banana republic. For the state, they may think that we are living in utopia, but that's false. And I think these regulations, well, as someone who is neutral, I think they would be good. But if they had engaged the stakeholders in the music industry or the arts industry. But again, if you sit in your silos and at the end of the day, you're bringing in a draft of regulations to impose them on artists without having their voice or their input, and it's like, you know, a wastage of time. So for many years, for 3 decades, a few artists have been able to come up and, you know, speak against the socio-economic crisis that we have in our country. So except the few that we have, like the likes of, you know, Bobby Wine or, you know, Ronald Mayinja and, you know, a few others, majority of them have been silent. So these regulations, I think, they are working as a wake-up call to the music industry. Because for many years, these Ugandans who are suffering, who are living under poverty, they are sacrificing their little money to have, they have in their pockets to, you know, attend the concerts of these musicians. But again, at the end of the day, the musicians have been betraying the population. So it's so absurd that they've been betraying us for many years. And once these regulations come in place, then, as Bobby Wine said, you know, some time back, that we shall see them by their actions, in our language, that tuli balabira kubikolwa byabwe, right? Yeah. So now is the time to see which artist is standing with the people, the majority who are oppressed by the minority, because
let me stop you from there.
Okay.
I'll ask you to continue from there. But there is one of the pictures that we saw spreading all over social media, and they had a lot of information. In other words, what was highlighted proved what the entire proposal is all about. Now, I want to read something small, and then I go to Sarah before we go on from Hilary. Let me read this. This is, I think, the 5th point on one of the papers. He says, "No performing artist or group of performing artists shall stage performances abroad without clearance from minister responsible for culture in Uganda." Now we've always had the likes of Honorable Bobby Wine, we've always had Bebe Cools and other chameleons coming here in USA to perform for us, and they've done that freely. Now, Sarah, I want to hear from you. What does that tell you?
Maybe they did, it doesn't really make sense, because if you want, first of all, you're even sending them to a wrong ministry. What is the role of Ministry of Culture? Because first of all, I've seen musicians and I've seen people complain that they are placed under the wrong ministry, Ministry of Gender. That's why you put things like entertainment. It is Ministry of Gender, has to do with issues to do with women, men, children, and then that is already too much. Because they have to deal with issues like domestic violence, child trafficking, a lot of issues that has to do with the gender. So you adding on the entertainment industry into that same department is a lot of work. If you really want to have an issue, first of all, they need to create a separate ministry, maybe and press them under education and sports, and maybe add on entertainment. They need to be, first for them, it has to be, properly outlined before. And again, maybe they've done that because right now, Bebe Cool cannot perform abroad. There's no one who is gonna, I'm telling you, majority of the people who are abroad are out of this country, are out of Uganda, not because they wanted to leave the country. People are not on holiday. It is snowing right now, it is winter, it is very cold outside. People are out, going through all this tough weather because they have people to fend for on the other side. People are not abroad for holiday. Who doesn't want to be in tropical weather throughout the year? Maybe that law, they want to favor, maybe Museveni wants to pay back to Bebe Cool and Kusasira because they can no longer perform abroad. You've seen Bebe Cool came to America and stayed here for 3 months. He was sleeping here. He was in, his mother stays in, I think Lexington or
let's leave that. Yeah,
he was staying here.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to see him at the gym at YMCA. Why didn't you stage up a show? Can Bobby, let's be honest. For example, the Boston area has over 50,000 Ugandans.
Yeah, Ugandans, right.
Can Bebe Cool stage a show in Boston? He cannot. He cannot. He cannot.
Is it because they support
No, because, if you cannot stand, first of all, what the diaspora has people who have gone through, who have either left Uganda because of the oppression, who have left Uganda because of the situation that is in Uganda, all the conditions, all their jobless and all that. And you have so many people in the diaspora. So many people of the diaspora have run away and have gotten maybe an opportunity to leave the country and look for better pastures in these countries. Don't expect them to support the government. There are very few work for the government who live in the diaspora. Bebe Cool cannot stage a show in America. Bebe Cool cannot stage a show now in UK. He knows it. He cannot stage a show in Sweden. He cannot do a show in Denmark. So, if Museveni wants to pay back Bebe Cool for being able to shout for him, that's how we paid him, because he cannot stage a show abroad. He cannot. We know that.
Right.
So, but to these other artists, because they know very well, Kenzo, all these other artists, people are always yearning for them abroad. So, for me, I'm looking at it in a way that maybe he did that to reward Bebe Cool. But then on the other hand, when you see all these laws, first of all, I'm going back to the fact that when all this was happening, I remember, I think 2 weeks ago, Bobby Wine had an interview with NBS, and he was with Tough B. He said the entire industry is under attack. And when Bobby Wine was stopped from performing, I didn't see any musician come up to condemn what the government had done. They were all quiet. And I think they were all celebrating, thinking this is Bobby Wine's problem. Now, these laws, and I'm telling you, Museveni looks at now musicians as a threat, because if there's Bobby Wine today, by the end of this year, there could be 2 more Bobby Wines. Because, and again, Parliament is under threat. So many musicians are joining politics now. You have Hilderman. Already, do you think if that draft goes to Parliament, do you think Chambade, Ameria, is going to vote no? No, because already Hilderman is threatening a seat. You have people like Lutaya are coming into active politics. You have people like Mayinja, they're coming into active politics. So already politicians are already scared, because these guys are going to go to rallies and just sing, and people are going to vote for them. So people are scared. People are scared of these musicians already. So the law might even easily pass, because the parliamentarians are really scared. In your constituency, any musician can crop up anytime and you're outed from Parliament. So they are scared. So that law, it could easily pass, but musicians have been quiet for a long time, keeping quiet, thinking this was Bobby Wine's problem. But then government is now looking at, if Bobby Wine came up from nowhere. The government didn't see Bobby Wine coming. They knew maybe he stood for Chadondo East, and then he's going to be in Parliament and care about his constituency. The new Chagulanyi taking over the mantle of addressing all the problems of Ugandans came from nowhere. when Chagulanyi started helping other members of parliament to win their parliamentary seats, no one saw it coming. We just saw him starting with, I think they were they started from the west. Then from the west, he went to support Kantun. No, there's this.
Aside from Bujiri, Ginger.
No, it was before Bujiri. He went to, he was in the west, and there was Besije on that campaign. And then from there, he went to support the guy who was in FDC. No, it was in Ginger. He went to Ginger and supported the FDC guy, who, in fact, the FDC guy was kind of against him when he stood in Chadondo East. So he went and supported him and he won, and then we went on to other constituencies. So it is also, these musicians kept quiet. They've been quiet, they've been singing, and I was so shocked to hear Catherine Kusasira saying Bobby Wine, oh, he's quiet. Bobby Wine is not good. In fact, Bobby Wine right now is on holiday. No, he's not even on holiday. He's performing whatever, and he's having his short holiday. Let Kusasira fight for Bobby Wine right now. Let's see for at least one day. Catherine Kusasira fighting for Bobby Wine.
On that note, Sarah, I wanted to actually read what you had said, but I'm going to read it after what you posted on your Facebook account. But Hilary, on that note, I want to ask you this question. The first point on the same list shows no person shall perform public entertainment unless that person is registered with the ministry responsible for culture in Ugandan performing arts. Now, is this a right cause for Ugandan entertainers to have licenses? And have you seen it happen anywhere else in the world?
Yes, for registration to attain a license, I think it's imperative for any government to ensure that they can get the taxes from all the musicians, because here in the US also musicians are also like registered. So the government of the US will be in position to know how much money these artists make at the end of the day, or at the end of the financial year. Then the government can know what amount of tax we expect from this person. So as a nation, since we have also financial constraints, like with our national debt burden, I think we can also use such measures to reduce on our national debt burden. So I believe that it's because not all these regulations are bad. Some of them are good. Now, like for an artist to register, that's a good cause. So I think every artist in our music industry or arts industry, I believe for the good cause of our nation, they should be registered.
Now, I'm going to put you in a very tough situation.
Yeah.
It's a yes or no. Yes or no. Do you support these regulations? Yes or no?
Now, you see, in a democratic conversation, I wouldn't be able to answer closed questions in this situation, because we believe that some of the regulations are not
they're not good.
To the music
they're made to frustrate the industry.
Yes, because you have to ask yourself a question: that what was the motive of these regulations? Then also you're going to raise eyebrows on the timing. Why now? Yes, the government has been in power for 3 decades. So for someone, because this needs. It doesn't even need common sense to know that the government is, are trying to silence musicians, because now the government is scared. Now they're in a panic mode. They're going to do each and everything possible to ensure that they scare out people to speak up. Now you've seen how they've attacked the church. So the government is sending a signal. I am the president of Uganda, General Museveni, Kaguta Yoweri, that once the church speaks up against the socioeconomic crisis we have in our country, then I'll force them to go back to school and study theology. Now he's also sending a message to the music industry. Once you start speaking up against also the bad things the government is doing, the atrocities that are happening in my regime, then I'm going to put regulations on you to ensure that you don't speak up. So this is something to silence musicians, something to silence also the arts, the arts industry. Because if you remember, those who were in the drama field, we had, acts like Chigenya Genya of CBS and Ndiwulira. So all those things we're talking about, the NRM regime, how they are oppressing Ugandans, how they're abusing the rights of Ugandans, and Ugandans are being silent. So now the government is coming up to see how can we stop the Chigenya, you know, the Chigenyas to come again in the future. Because right now we are in a very hard time of our political environment. Right. So the government is trying to look for all ways possible to ensure that they don't give any gap to any political opponents. So you have to create any barriers to ensure that nobody speaks up, nobody stands up against the government. And as Sarah has been telling you that now for you to tell musicians not to go abroad and perform without permission from your government, because they know very well that now they've tried to silence one musician called Bobby Wine. And now they believe that Bobby Wine can get access to other platforms.
Now,
like
stopping you from there. Stopping you from there.
Also, just briefly, please. Also, like Bobby Wine can also sell like his music nowadays via YouTube or Spotify or iTunes. So now the government is trying to find ways, but again, they're forgetting that generations have changed. So you're not going to stop Ugandans from buying, Bobby Wine's music on iTunes or on Spotify or on HBO or any other platforms that we have.
All right, Harris, thank you. So for people who are watching us live on Facebook and other social platforms, we want to ask you this question. Are the laws that were being proposed, as we saw them on different social media platforms and every corner, do you think this is the right move, or it's just a move against Bobby Wine and the entertainment industry? Is the government rejecting these laws to help? Is the government rejecting these laws to help the entertainment industry, or it is as said that they are attacking Bobby Wine and his followers? Send us what you think. Send us your comments. Now, Sarah, I want to read a comment that I saw earlier today, 7 hours back, that you posted on your platform, and it came as a result of how Catherine Kusasira responded. And in some words, she said, Bobby Wine has not helped us as musicians because he's a member of parliament who has a big voice in the parliament to speak about these issues, but he has not come out to say this. Now, I'm going to start with you, then I'll read what and how Bobby Wine responded to the ongoing saga in Uganda. Sarah, this is what you say. Catherine Kusasira, let me educate you. Bobby Wine is not a member of parliament for artists. He's a member of parliament for Chadono East, representing all kinds of people. Katolbwam and Judith Babidi are artists in parliament too. How come they don't fight for you? When Bobby Wine shows were stopped by government, when we never saw you fight for him. Now you want him to fight for you, yet you have been silent, thinking it was his problem. Now let me finish up with what you just said again. I remember you clearly stated that you were forced to sing at one of his rallies by fans. So now, why claim that you sang at most his rallies? It's time you fought for him as well, or carry your own cross. What did you try to mean by responding to Catherine Kusasira on that issue?
She made statements where I saw an interview where she said Bobby Wine is quiet. And I'm like, but Catherine Kusasira, this can be sorted in a second because you have access to the president. Catherine Kusasira just walks he just walks into the State House, just like that. These are the first, these are the Bazukulu, these are the first kids. These are people who have Museveni's phone on speed dial. Catherine Kusasira can just call the president and say, hey, daddy, or Jaja, these laws, we don't want these laws, and they are taken away in a minute. So why do you want Bobby Wine to fight for you, yet you have a voice? She's a musician. She's been consistently, some of these musicians are funny. And I had someone comment and say they've been consistently singing about love, yet they failed to find a man to keep at home. So they've been consistently singing, also being in the music industry. But if you say Bobby Wine is quiet, and Bobby Wine has talked, by the way, before all these laws came up, he has done, after his shows were shut down, he has had numerous interviews where he said he said that you must know right now the music industry is under attack, and this is not going to stop with me. It is going to go deep. So Catherine Kusasira herself, it is what I said. It's about time she starts fighting for Bobby Wine and the rest. You cannot start claiming Bobby Wine's voice is bigger than all of us, yet you have access to the president. Yet you can go, if you can go to the president and collect condolences, you're bigger than Bobby Wine in terms of having access to the president. You know, she collected condolences for you know, she collected condolences for Kauma, she collected condolences for a number of people who are for Chirumira and all the rest. She can as well just go to the president and say, you know what, I don't like A, B, C, and D. They are not good. They are not favoring me. Yo Muzukulu, Chief Muzukulu, you know, let them be scrapped. But if at this point in time musicians think someone else is going to fight for them, then they are completely wrong. I briefly read an article by, put up a post, Nsedeko, put up a post, Mohammed Nsedeko, he put up a post and said, musicians, when teachers have been striking about non-payments, you kept quiet. When doctors rioted, musicians kept quiet. When the Tonjukwatako, musicians kept quiet. It was Bobby Wine. When Dr. Besigye was brutalized, musicians kept quiet. When Bobby Wine was brutalized, we forced a few after going after them on social media to even say something. When the Lusanja people were evicted, musicians kept quiet. On the murders happening in the country, musicians have been quiet. So they want the whole country to go to a standstill and we throw tantrums and we go on the streets because these laws are coming for them. It is about time, musicians, because now they feel like someone is going after their source of income. It is about time, not waiting for Bobby Wine, for musicians to stand up and fight for themselves. Because this is not about Bobby Wine. Bobby Wine has already been almost incarcerated. He knows the whole December season, that's the most, you know, season where people earn a lot of money. He did not make any money. All his shows were stopped. He made losses. So he has already accepted the fate. But he's told them and said, you know what, this is going to be bigger than what you think. They kept quiet. Any of the musicians, did you see any musician say, I'm not going to perform? Musicians, they stopped Bobby Wine's show. And all these musicians, the types of Tutasira, were in Chiwatule performing. Why didn't they cancel and say, you know what, because you're stopping our fellow artists to perform, we are not performing. They all went and performed. Now at this point in time, they feel Bobby Wine should fight for them. And you know, to Bobby Wine, he has fought for them enough. I know he's going to add his voice, but we want to see musicians. You know, when people are rioting, when the common man is having issues and rioting, musicians are quiet. Let's see them go to parliament, petition parliament. Let's see them act, because there are so many. This is not only going to affect people who sing. This law is affecting comedians. This law is affecting, because comedians also belong to artists. This law is affecting dancers, is affecting so many people. Because if you think the law is affecting Bobby Wine from traveling abroad, for example, many musicians are coming to perform at Tuna. Many musicians do international tours. You see how many musicians have been going to perform in UK. It is going to be tough for even promoters to start chasing around. And you know how Uganda is non-functional. They are going to tell you, oh, you have to get a license, and it has to take you a year to get a license. Or you have to bribe someone because people are not performing. Either someone is not in the office or someone, you know. So you have people who are non-performing, and so it's going to be a hassle even for promoters abroad to bring someone onto the other side to perform. Maybe it's even going to be expensive. But at the same time, for me, what I would say, let the musicians wake up, let them do something drastic. Just imagine all musicians in Uganda, let's say there are 100. Let them go now, right now to the studio, use their voice because that's what they have. Let them go and compose a song telling Museveni that, you know what, enough is enough. Let him see a song with all musicians in Uganda raising their voices telling him. He's going to be scared. He's going to say, what is happening? They're all ganging against me. But you know, you can't have some people being, oh, you know, we eat from State House. And you have some people say, oh, Bobby Wine is quiet. Bobby Wine is quiet. The man he has fought enough. Fight for you. Bobby Wine, in fact, is fighting for Uganda. He's fighting for people of Chadondo. Bobby Wine is now fighting for Ugandans who are suffering, not musicians who come and sing with their most of them have bubblegum music. They are the worst. They don't even have vocals. They can't even perform. You just hear do 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 do. They've been earning money out of their bubblegum music, and now they want Bobby Wine to fight for them. Let them fight for themselves.
All right, Sarah, thank you. Now, I want to, before here I come back to you, let me read a quote from Honorable Bobby Wine. He said, and I quote, "I've been speaking to my fellow artists to speak up against the injustices before it's too late. I have told them to defend the entertainment industry before it's too weakened and to defend them. I've told them time and time again that an attack on Bobby Wine's music is an attack on all of us, because injustice, again, one is injustice against all. Injustice against one is injustice against all. I'm not tired to explain to them that when injustice is not fought, when it is a seed, it will be harder to fight when it is a tree, he said.
Yeah.
Now, Hillary, coming to you, is this specifically an attack on Bobby Wine, or it's an attack on the industry?
Well, this is an attack on the entire music industry. And you see, injustice is fought with resistance. Once you resist such regulations, then you're going to get justice at the end of the day. So I think Bobby Wine was was giving a good advice to our musicians. And for me, by the way, well, I don't agree with all the regulations, but I agree with some of them. Now, like the one of registering to get a license, I agree with it. But the one about how to dress, or how many hours to perform for, or how many concerts to attend in a day, those ones I don't agree with them. But again, as Sarah was saying, I would love to see these regulations like being passed into law, so that we can also get the musicians affected. So once they are affected, like the common men and women in our country, then they will wake up, because right now they are sleeping. So I just wish that these regulations are passed and all these musicians are affected. Then in a very short time you will see them rising up. You see them siding with we, the majority, who are oppressed, because for many years we've been speaking up, and they've been distancing themselves from the things that are affecting us. So I believe the government is also doing using its policy of divide and rule, because as you know, Mr. Museveni is very good at that game. Go to the churches, divide them. Go to the music industry, divide them. Go to football, you saw what he did with also FUFA. He was creating divisions. Go to taxis, divide them. Go to border borders, divide them. Go to political parties, divide them. Go to markets, divide them. So divide and rule, Museveni has that DNA in him. And
now,
I think
I want to give you one of the questions from Facebook here.
Okay.
Najita Winnie says, it's okay, but the question is, why now? What's the motive behind that?
Yes, of course, everyone will raise eyebrows, like what's the motive of these regulations to come up at this time? So you're going to ask yourself about the motive and also the timing, because we know very well that with this current political environment, it wouldn't be something that we would expect from a head of a state to bring on board to ensure that he oppresses the opponents who have different political ideologies. But again, as I've said, that when such things come up, the only thing we have to use is resistance. So if we can rise up, because in politics it's all about numbers. So once we rise up as the majority and have one voice, then we shall have a bigger magnitude that will have a stronger voice. Then with that stronger voice, the president will be able to listen and perhaps also step aside and create a vacuum for a new leader in our political arena. So I believe that as Ugandans, we shouldn't just let go of these things. We have to rise up. So I think it's going to be a wake-up call. So musicians have to rise up. All those musicians who are in parliament, so as Sarah said, there are three right now, Katolu Wama, Judith Babidi and Bobby Wine. They have to create a team and sit on a table to see with their colleagues to see the way forward. How can they lobby from parliament to ensure that they have better regulations? How can they also meet or call different stakeholders to ensure that they have better regulations that are going to take our music industry forward?
All right.
But besides that, I think they are wasting time, and they can't just blame or start the blame game that we are going to look at one person, because we have three parliamentarians from that field.
Yeah, sure.
So
yes, Sarah, what do you have to say?
Just a second, please. Because for me, to be honest, I haven't heard like the three artists coming up with a clear roadmap of taking their industry forward before the parliament. Because recently when Bobby Wine was also talking about his cancelled concerts, well, it was like more of an individual defense. But now we want to see that we have a collective voice before the parliament, in that they are fighting for each and every one. They are fighting for the comedians. They are fighting for the people who are in the movie industry. They are fighting for also the musicians.
All right.
So at the end of the day, I think there will be a better deal.
Sarah, before I come to you, there is something that I want to put together. I think we'll add on what you have to say so far. Dorothy Nam says, divide and rule tumkwa in Uganda. And then there is one other person who says, Mugisha Patricia says, if real artists want freedom and Uganda, this is the time to come up with a collabo. Now, do you think that will be a solution to the problems that affect
They have to use the tools they have. First of all, you said, why now? And to just supplement on what Hillary said,
right.
Why now? No one, not even Museveni, saw Bobby Wine coming. They thought Bobby Wine is something, you know how much money, ever since Bobby Wine became a problem to President Museveni. You know how much money Museveni has spent? Billions and billions of money.
Right.
He spent money and gave the ghetto kids of Kamocha. He spent money and gave Kampala. He has given, I'm told, Bebeku 2 billion. Promoters have been paid money. So a lot of money is going out. And his biggest fear right now, if only one Bobby Wine is making me spend all these billions of money, what if there are 10 Bobby Wines in form of musicians? So he's scared. All these regulations are coming up because he's scared. Today you're having Bobby Wine who is so vocal, who is so energetic, who is fearless. You're going to have tomorrow, you're going to have another Eddie Kenzo. So fearless, and you're going to have Saha. You're going to have so many musicians coming up and raising their voices. So he's scared. The only way to do that is, you know what? Cut the tree before it starts bearing fruits.
But there are some musicians who do really support the cause, because when I was watching Bebe Cool's response to the same cause, he said that this is a good opportunity for musicians to table out their issues in terms of copyright and other issues.
No, the issue even right now is not even about copyright, because musicians have failed even to come up and sort out that. But you see why now they're all running around like headless chicken. This affects their source of income, because to tell a musician that you have to perform at one show and I had someone support it, or promoters are going to give them a lot of money, it doesn't make sense. Musicians have been performing on 2, 3, 4 shows and walk away with maybe 20 million. Don't think I'm going to give you 20 million for performing on one show, So it is going to affect all of them. But I heard Hillary say that all the members of the musicians who are in parliament should fight for this. How do you expect 3 people to fight for hundreds of people outside? In fact, if the hundreds of thousands raise their voices and give their petition to parliament, it would make a lot of sense. You saw already the position Katol Bwama. Katol Bwama he has distanced himself away from the politicians. He's enjoying. Katol Bwama getting 25 million a month is a miracle. This is money he has never touched his whole life. Katol Bwama is in heaven. Katol Bwama arrived. If you want to say how Katol Bwama is going to become, wait for Katol Bwama after 2021, because he's not coming back, whether he wants it or not. Katol Bwama, all the big stomach is going to disappear. The stomachs are going to shrink. Wait for another car wash for him. You're going to take him now to India for another heart surgery. When he's broke, you have to look for money for another heart surgery. Because after 2021, it will not be the Katol Bwama you see now bragging around and speaking as if he has just dropped from heaven. I saw his statements, oh, these laws are good, blah, 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 blah. But there are some of the things, okay, you would agree with and say, okay, let them get a license, or it's about time you have the musicians pay revenue. But then you want them to pay revenue, but you are having so many stringent laws that affect them from performing, that stop them from performing. So it is about time. And this is what has been happening. And musicians have been blind. The musicians from day one forgot that their boss is the end customer. This is a service. Some of them sing bubblegum music. People who come, I'm telling you, people don't go to these music shows because they have a lot of money. Ugandans are depressed. If I have my 10,000 and I can go out and consume music and be out there and forget my problems for 30 minutes, I'll do that. People don't go out because they have a lot of money. People go out because if I get into my one room, my house, all my problems, the silence in the house brings back all my problems to go. So people go out to, distract themselves, forget about their problems for a second. So musicians, so many Ugandans at a low level have been going through a lot of things, and musicians have been quiet. And these are the people who go and consume their music, who listen to their music, who go to their shows. So musicians have been quiet. You cannot, even in economics, if you do not respect your customer, I always tell musicians that your boss is the person who comes to see your shows. It is this person who is suffering. It is this person who has to look for 10,000 to go and see David Lutalo, who goes to see Bobby Wine, Bebe Cool. Because this is what happens. Whether you're Team Bobby Wine or Team Bebe Cool, your problems are the same.
There is a notion, and I want to quote from, I think his quote is Domagoj Poriano. He says, Bebe Cool is not after performing all over Uganda, soon he's joining politics. Is there an ambition, and I'm going to be open to whoever answers it first, is there an ambition for Bebe Cool to join politics? Because lately we are seeing him engaging so much of the political talk, and
Bebe Cool would want to join politics because I see him. Bebe Cool, one is very competitive, and Bebe Cool, he's still competing with Bobby Wine. Every step Bobby Wine takes, Bebe Cool wants to take that step because he feels really so bad for this young man to be better than him. He has those he's a very jealous type who does not want people to be, other people better than him. He has ambitions to join politics, you can see that. But the problem, Bebe Cool, what he has to sort out right now, he has to go back to school. He's a senior 5 dropout. He has to go back to school, and he has to first go through and jump that hurdle. He's not gonna, he needs to be qualified. At least he needs a minimum qualifications to join active politics is senior 6. Right. You saw what happened to Janet Museveni when he wanted to join active politics. She went back to school. You saw what happened to Salim Saleh. Salim Saleh went and started senior 6 with her daughter. He went back to school. So Bebe Cool, instead of making a lot of noise, if he wants to join politics 2021, let him go back to school and first go back study senior, because right now, since he's a senior 5 dropout, all he has is a senior 4 certificate. Let him go back. If he's bright enough to skip senior 5 and do senior 6 and pass it, then he can join active politics. But he's not going to, there's no shortcut to that. Because, people say, I had people say, oh, he can be given a position of minister. And I said also, Sebagara was given a position of minister. But the parliament vetting, he was thrown out because he's not qualified. So if he's going to join politics, let him go back to school.
All right. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for, putting much of the discussion and breaking down the stories about the new regulations against the musicians. Well, to me and others, real people will say that they are good regulations, and others will say they are bad regulations.
Yeah, if you can, moderator, if you can just allow me give the perspective of the Wananchi or the common man there on the ground. Some of them would be happy about these regulations, mainly people who have been paying money and were finding themselves that they've not had an opportunity of seeing the artist who has been advertised on the posters. Because many of these artists have been conning people like that. They tell you that they're coming in Mitiana at maybe 10 p.m. and you see the artist on the banner or the poster, and at the end of the day, they don't turn up. So the owner of the property is going to incur damages because people are going to destroy the properties. They're going to break chairs, they're going to break different things. So to such people, they also have a perspective saying that these regulations would help them. Because if you are saying that you are a musician and you're going to perform at 5 different events in the same day, and then the proximity doesn't favor you, say maybe at 2 p.m. you are in Jinja, then say at 4 p.m. you have to be in Mukono, then say at 8 p.m. you have to be in Masaka, then say at 11 p.m. you have to be in Katakwi or Lira. It's practically impossible. So that's why you've seen that on many occasions artists have not been able to turn up. You've seen it very, being very common in the bands. Like the Eagles band, is it Eagles production?
Right.
Yeah, so some of them don't turn up because of that issue. And again, also, if you look at the perspective of the parent, because at times parents are sitting like in sitting rooms watching TV with their children, and then some of the videos are not appropriate to the young generation. And also, if they're watching comedy, because nowadays our comedy has turned into vulgarity. So people are using vulgar words each and every time in comedy.
What do you call vulgar? What do you call vulgar?
Obscenity.
Yeah.
Obscenity.
Exactly.
You've seen most of musicians in Uganda
if you are
ride on obscenity. They are not creative. They are not. There is no originality. They ride on obscenity to drive their comedy.
But it's something that their fans like.
No, but because people are perverts. People are perverts. People like dirty stuff.
Yes.
So, but as a professional, you can't be. Many musicians in Uganda, it is hard for them to cross over to the international market, and they are going to stay in Uganda just because they don't have content. You cannot be vulgar talking. You cannot, their skits cannot even meet. They will be imprisoned if they performed in a community of whites with all that kind of vulgarity.
Yes, so I think, like looking at that perspective, like in terms of maybe culture, like some parents are concerned about that issue. And now, since we're watching TV, having our prime time with our family, maybe at 7 p.m. and you're there with a 4-year child, and the obscenity you're watching on TV is not appropriate for that child. So it, in other words, affects that child mentally, and
All right. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for.
No, but briefly, let me just add on briefly. And musicians, before they fight for these laws to go to pass, the most important law they need to fight for is copyright, because first of all, these are stringent laws. And if they come up where you're affecting a musician, can't even perform on more than one show, he needs a license, yet their music is on the streets, people are carrying it for free, all these small booths are selling music, their musicians are not going to benefit anything. Because, first of all, their music is all over the streets. And no one, basically, you compose a song and it's all over the street. I have it in my car, I have it everywhere, which you cannot find in the Western world. Many musicians are earning. That's why in the Western world you find the songwriter earns more than even the musician who performed the song. But the writers earn peanuts. I sell to you my song at 5 million and that's it. I don't even have any royalty over the song. And the musicians will not gain much. So with these laws becoming stringent and with no copyright, where your music is protected, they are bound to lose more. So they need to put up a massive fight for themselves.
Exactly.
And no Ugandan,
Moses' family right now is struggling, is battling a case in the court.
No Ugandan is going to fight for these musicians. In fact, Ugandans, we are going to fight for Bobby Wine because he's been fighting for us. Right. We are going to fight for those few who have stood out to fight for us. The majority of the musicians have been quiet. It is time we sit back and we see them, because there are many, there are over 100, maybe there are about 500 musicians. Let's see what comes out of them. Let them compose a song. Let's see a Korabo talking about the problems of Uganda. Let them talk about Dictator Museveni. Let them use their voice. Their voice their voices are the tools of communication. Let them do something. If they are quiet, let's see musicians, comedians do something. Let's see. We are waiting. We are seated and waiting.
All right, let's see what musicians are going to do over the next few days or few months or years to come over these key issues that are affecting Ugandans. But last week was one of the, again, a very tragic, a very crazy and tough time for our brothers and sisters who are in Kenya, who are trying to fight so hard to see that maybe we can end terrorism in our country or in Africa as a continent. And what happened last week during the terror attack, many people lost lives. There are others who were recognized as heroes. But this was a regional threat. It's not just about Uganda as a country, it's not about Kenya, but it's a regional threat, and of course Africa as a continent. Now, I want to start with you guys. What does that tell you with regards to Uganda security? Should I start with Hillary? Yes.
Yes, terrorism is a global phenomenon, and it's a major threat to humanity. So we should be very worried about terrorism. because we don't want it to occur in any community or in any part of the world. So it was so sad that Kenyans lost about 20 people. That's too bad, because this is a country that has had like lots of histories of terror attacks. You remember very well with the Westgate. Now this
Riverside.
Riverside. Then remember the Garissa attack of the students at the university, and many more. Because it reminds me also the 2010 terror attack we had at Lugogo Cricket Oval.
Chadondo.
Because, yes, Chadondo. One of my classmates, by then I was at Makerere University Business School, Martin Chivumbi, was among the victims who was bombed, and it was a bad experience, because when I saw what happened in the Riverside, Martin's image just came back to my side. So I believe as a country we have to be vigilant, because here in the US they always have a slogan that says, see something, say something. So I think we should also embrace such a slogan, see something and say something. Alert the counter-terror attack police department, or you can call the 911 and alert them if you're suspicious of any package or anything you see in any community. That's the only way we can curb the issue of terrorism, because terrorism mainly happens usually because of two things. At times there are political motives, then at times there are religious motives. And you see Al-Shabaab, because those who bombed the Riverside hotel, they were from Somalia, I think.
Yeah, but because there's some stories that have been developed. Yeah.
Yes, now you see Somalia is endured with uranium, and many terrorists nowadays are using uranium to make bombs, because you can easily make a dirty bomb or any bomb using that element of uranium. So you just need an atomic element 92, or you need uranium-235 to make the bomb. So you just need like 2 tins, then compact it with uranium-235, or you can get plutonium-249, and the thing you compact it, then the thing will break up through a process called fusion, and it explodes. So it's very simple, because Africa, Canada, and some few countries of the USSR, like Russia, Azerbaijan, and Kazakhstan, and also go to Namibia or South Africa or Canada. Those are some of the countries that have uranium. So it's a big threat to those countries. And Al-Shabaab now, they're using that advantage, that since we have uranium in Somalia, we can easily make these bombs, and we can easily cause a threat to any country. And you see, Kenya is strategically located to Somalia, so the proximity is so short, in that Al-Shabaabs can easily attack Kenya compared to Uganda, because we are a bit far away. And it's so absurd to hear such comments from the Al-Shabaab saying that they are ready to turn the flag of Kenya red. That speaks volumes, and it should make us, give us a wake-up call as Ugandans. You see, yesterday but one, the US President Donald Trump was giving the US missile defense strategy. So each and every year, the President of the US gives us the missile defense strategy. How are they going to counterattack terrorism? How are they going to ensure that they denuclearize countries that have nuclear weapons like North Korea and others? So how are they going to keep policing the world, since US looks at itself as the hegemon of the world, or as the policeman, the policeman of the world? So I think also it should be a challenge to Uganda, so that we can embrace, in that the counterattack terrorism department comes out each and every year to show us, to account for the measures they're putting in place to ensure that we are safe as Ugandans. Because at the end of the day, the state has to ensure the safety of all Ugandans, the 40 million Ugandans.
All right.
Because if you lose one life like this, that's a big loss to the nation.
All right,
so we don't want to go back to the history of 2010.
Right.
And we are sorry about what happened in Kenya, because what happened in Kenya can easily cross to Uganda.
Yeah, so
we have to watch out and see that.
From that note, authorities in Uganda say that Uganda is safe, just as it has always been a norm from the president to the different security organizations or organs, and it's always like that. Security in Uganda is safe. At one time it was said, and then we received a bomb attack. So, Sarah, what comes to your mind when you see what happened in Kenya, people losing lives, and in Uganda, security officers are telling you they are okay, and on top of that, the parliamentarians, or actually House Speaker, said he started questioning the organizations responsible for security to tell the public what's going on. Sarah, what's your take?
First of all, for any Ugandan back home, don't be lied, don't be fooled. The security in Uganda is not okay. And you have to man your own security first. If you see something you don't understand, or if you are in an environment where you see suspicious people, run for your life. You do not, I'm telling you, if terrorists were really interested, because first of all, they target places with more interest that would vibrantly make international news. For example, the Riverside place that they bombed is a residential, mainly housing foreigners. There is an American who died. I saw in the news, in fact, they were saying an American who, he survived the September 11th, but died from that.
Right. Jason something.
Yeah, they are Americans, there were people from England, they were foreigners. And that is because if American foreigners die in such a situation, then definitely America is concerned. Britain is concerned what is happening. But you'd have no security in Uganda. What happened the day after the bombing in Kenya? I saw a news presenter from Sol TV. He was live on Facebook, and he had a bag which had in all kinds of stuff. You know, he had put in all kinds of stuff to see how good the security is. And he said, I'm going to walk into CPS and see how vigilant they are and how really security is tight. He went through from the first checkup, no one touched him. He walked and there were some police officers standing by the side, and they were all, you know, giving him way. He went through the first checkup, and you know, the bag, the machine was going off, but they never even bothered to check what was in the bag. He went through all through CPS to where the bosses sit, and he went showing position. If he had bombs where he would be planting them, he went through up to the flying squad. He went through all the big positions. For example, if he was a terrorist and he had walked in, he would bomb down the entire CPS in just no seconds. Another presenter, another guy was in Nakasero market. And they went to the police post in Nakasero and were talking to them if they were in case, because Nakasero has so many people, it is hard to tell. Definitely a terrorist is not going to come in dressed like a terrorist. He's going to be like any normal person. So, and when I looked at Nakasero, the guy was asking them, oh, do you have security around? They seemed not to know what is happening, and they said, okay, do you have the anti-terrorism police around here? And they asked them, how do they dress? They didn't even know how they dress, because anti-terrorism dress in either blue or black. Right. He didn't know how they do. They said, okay, what uniform do the policemen you have here, how they do they dress like? He said, he talked of maybe green, some other uniform. And then I said, okay, if we go to your police post around here, are we going to find their security? And he said, oh, they keep moving around. So you can imagine a market like Nakasero market, where there are so many people that converge, it's not secure. So in Uganda, people have to be vigilant for themselves. No one should, I'm telling you, security is on high alert. If Bobby Wine is having a meeting in Busavala, if Dr. Besigye, I saw yesterday police had put barracks at Besigye's house because he was getting some visitors. Things that are really, really, really not important to the security of the country. If Besigye is going to have some visitors, police, all the cars, all the top man officers are going to come out to stop that. But Kampala, no one should lie to you that security in Uganda is safe. Because if security in Uganda was safe, Uganda is the biggest hub for moving drugs. Even I was reading a report that the dog that was trained to sniff cocaine in Uganda was killed at the airport. So that is the biggest hub for drug lords. It is the biggest hub for people who did into fake gold and fake what? Entebbe airport. So if someone is going to even move arms, Entebbe Airport is the biggest, so because you don't even have the right security personnel to do that. Uganda is not safe. If we are really interested in bombing in Uganda, they can do it at any one point in time. If they did it in Chadondo, and up to this point in time, many people lost their lives. They went and did it in Kabaragala as well. So no one. And you have music shows that are coming up. You have David Utalo, you have Freedom City. So Ugandans, you have to be vigilant and take care of yourselves. Because look at all these music shows. How far do they check up people? Or how much security is put up to see that, anyone can enter into a music show, a music concert, and bomb everyone around. So Uganda is not safe. People have to be vigilant. Because what the government, it has specialized, the speciality they have right now is curbing an opposition leader. They will bring out all the finest arms you've never seen. If Bobby Wine is in Busabala or if Bobby Wine is going through Kampala Road, they'll bring it out. But when it comes to things that concern Ugandan security to Ugandans, because if you say Ugandans, for example, let's assume Uganda is safe. How was Chirumira gunned? Just in the early evenings of the night. Chirumira was gunned down. Right. Uganda is safe. Who are these people who have guns who are moving around gunning down people? Abiriga was shot down. Kawesi was shot down during the day. Early in the morning, during the day, he was killed. So how is Uganda safe? Anyone can be killed at any one moment in time. So if anyone can be killed at any one moment in time, how about terrorists who are trained and they have all this experience to stage bombs, to kill? They'll come in and do anything. A terrorist walking into Nakasero market or Chiseka market, dressed in his jacket, already, ready to sacrifice himself and bomb up the entire place.
All right. So this is very interesting because the security system in Uganda, what makes it interesting is that they'll always tell you people are safe. And then the following day you hear people die in Wakiso, the following day you hear people die in Entebbe, the following day you hear people die everywhere. When the president gets in that place, the killings stop. And the much more likely evidence that we do know, we may not know other things, but what we do know is that when he went to Entebbe, the killings stopped. We also do know that the day Mohamed Chirumira was killed, he was the very first top official to arrive at the scene. Now, Hilary, what does that tell you? Is the security under President Museveni good, as he always says, or there is something else hidden behind it? Are the mafias at work?
Oh, of course, mafias have been working for the last 33 years. Actually, Museveni is making 33 years in leadership on the 26th of this month. They will be celebrating the 33rd anniversary of NRM since 1986. And you see, terrorism and extremism, this is something that is here to stay because politics and religion are not going anywhere. So as a nation, we have to just put in place mechanisms that are ready to tackle the issue of, or to tackle any terror attack. Because if you look at the Kenyans, the way they responded, it was so fast. They were well coordinated. And this is a challenge that we have as Ugandans. Yeah. Because if you remember how the counterterrorism police, came to the scene at Lugogo?
Yeah,
Lugogo Cricket Oval.
Right.
Yes, their response was a bit sluggish. And again, also the way they went to the Kabalagala Ethiopian restaurant that was also bombed, I could see that we are kind of, procrastinating each and everything. So I think we need to borrow leaves from the Kenyan police, how they are doing these things, to ensure that once we get any terror attack, we can at least try to reduce on the number of lives that would be lost. Because if the Kenyan police was not so fast to go to the scene, I think it would be even more than 20 people who would be lost in that incident. But as the government of Uganda, of course, they are good at making statements. because you have to reaffirm to the public that you are safe, however much we are not safe. As Sarah has told you that, the different murders we've had in our country, the police has not been even close to the scene. And also the mothers who have been raped in Entebbe, there was no security for those mothers. So we shouldn't wait for only terror attacks to ensure that Ugandans are safe. But when I'm sleeping in my house, I want to ensure that nobody is going to attack me. When I'm moving with my money from my bank to my shop in Chikubo, I don't want anyone to attack me, to take away the money or to rob me. So we are talking about security. And security is a very big challenge to this government of Mr. Museveni, because we've seen lots of loopholes in terms of taking care of Ugandans to ensure that they are safe 24 hours. So I think as a nation, we should put more pressure to the counter-terrorism department to ensure that they do more awareness to the Ugandans. Let them go to radio stations. Let them go to learning institutions and teach our children in schools. Let them go to worshiping centers. Let them go to churches. Let them go to mosques. Let them go to markets, so that they can create more awareness about how you can run away from the scene. Because right now, believe me or not, very few people know which direction to take once a terror attack, once a bomb has exploded. So such awareness is very imperative to all Ugandans, because these guys are very determined. I mean, you saw how guys, one of the video was showing that the guy was very determined. He stood there as if he was suffering from what to do. He was very friendly, and the bomb just exploded. And again, also, we have to be very vigilant with social media, because now the terrorists are using it a lot to radicalize mainly the young people in Africa, because they know that they are gullible and they are unemployed, they are financially constrained, they want quick money. So these people are making sacrifices, because someone will tell you, I'm going to give you 500,000 US dollars. Right. So the person is saying, I'll get that money and give it to my family, but then I'll blow up myself. So the government has to find ways of how to find any terrorist group that is trying to radicalize young people via any technology platform. Because now you see that Africa has the largest number of terrorist groups. Because in Nigeria we have Boko Haram, we have the Al-Qaeda, we have Al-Shabaab. Go to Libya. Libya has like different terrorist groups. So now it's like it's a group that is trying to expand in different African leaders. And that's why you see nowadays that, because we shouldn't say people who are abusing, people who are fighting, our Western allies to come and, give us a hand. You saw that Kenya, the Kenyan police was, aided by the snipers from the US and also Britain. They were there on the scene to ensure that they fight against those terrorists.
All right, so on that point, I want to thank you for you guys raising such issues. But one of the major things that have been spreading on social media, they didn't go viral, but it was very important, basically in the mainstream media. We saw someone, a whistleblower, coming out to tell the public that I do know the people who killed General Chigundu, who killed this and this and this. And then police comes out to say,
she's crazy. She's
crazy. She's a mad lady. Now, I want to read you a story that was published by New Vision on January 12th. Nina Rukondo, who happens to be the wife of one of the stakeholders in these killings, come out to say to Mama Fina that, hey, my husband is part of the crew. He's responsible for the death of your husband. And then many more stories. Now, I want to read from what happened. And I quote from the New Vision paper. I said, I would rather die when I have told the truth than dying with guilty. Nina Rukondo said, adding, I have tried to inform the police and also reported the case to Nabwelu police station, but I was not helped, and I thought the only way to let the country know the truth was to tell Mama Fina, because late Major Chigundu was her husband. Now, that was a statement from Nyinarukodo. We should also remember that before Muhammad Chilumira was killed, he also made a statement. Better say it, because whether you keep quiet or what, you will again die. So, what does that tell you? This lady was named to be mad. Sir?
You know, the problem with, first of all, I saw how police has been treating this lady. I've heard her speak, she doesn't look to be mad. But, you know, just like I said, if that woman had given information that Bobi Wine was planning to kill President Museveni, I'm telling you, the entire military police, the entire firing squad, the entire, you know, they would have surrounded up Bobi Wine. They would have, all the machines you've never seen would have come out. But the lady, she goes into deeper detail. Like I heard her talk about how Chigundu's car, what exactly happened. I think police, the CIDs, the investigation, the forensics would be using her right now, because they at the scene, there is information they picked. They should be using her right now to see if they can reconstruct and see what truthfulness is in this information. But everyone is calling her mad. And I saw from her statements, even before Chigundu was murdered, she had gone to police and made a statement and told them that Chigundu is going to be murdered and I know who are going to kill him. Nothing was done. So that draws me to, is it the police that are killing these people? Because I heard that from one of the statements she mentioned that at one police post she was told, why doesn't she just give up and keep quiet? And for me, to Mama Fina, she has to be vigilant. Mama Fina can be killed. She has to be vigilant.
Yeah, because that's the reason why she went to.
She has to be because she's been warned. Chirumira had been warned a number of times by individuals, and Chirumira indeed died. So Mama Fina has to beef up her security. This same woman, she's the woman from when I had all the different interviews. We had MP Katelega, is it Katelega? There's an MP of Lubaga, I think Lubaga North. Kasibante. You remember when Kasibante, a list was left to his maid?
Right.
The woman confessed and said she's the one who took the list and gave it to the maid because she found it in the house and it had the list of people that are going to be murdered. So Kasibante, you know, people have to be, whoever is on that list has to be vigilant because Uganda has no enough security to take care of these people. Uganda is it's a mafia state. And I feel bad for people like, I'm sorry to say, I feel bad for people like Bebe Cool, the likes of Kusasira, the likes of Brian White. Those are going to be gunned down as well.
Actually, Brian White is say that 2 weeks.
I'm telling you, those are going to be gunned down as well. They have to be careful. You know why? It's a mafia state, and in a mafia state where people feel they are stakeholders, and from nowhere you're Brian White and you're talking over foundation empowering youth. These guys want to steal money. You're telling them about empowering youth. They've been stealing money for 30 years, putting it in their own pockets. You're talking about empowering. Or you're buying, you know, bicycles, cups and plates for kids. They don't want that money to go there. So when I look at people bragging around like Bebe Cool, they are enjoying this money, someone else is watching you. Someone else got to know Bebe Cool got 2 billion. You think they're going to let you keep collecting money? Yet some of these people have been collecting this money and enjoying it for their personal use. And now Bebe Cool, you're here collecting money, claiming, or you're fighting against Bobi Wine. Don't you think that people have been fighting about Besigye before? And then there people have fought against Semogere before. So who are you to come and start reaping where you've not sown? These people own Uganda. So I see so many people who are going to go the same way because they are really, really poking their nose where they don't belong. That's what happens in the mafia state. So I would encourage Mama Fina not to take this lightly.
So I want to read a comment from Facebook here. It says, Sarah Joy, there are gun shootings in America every day. People die from gunshots. If Museveni asks you a question, does it mean America isn't safe? You guys are dealing with one of these martyr dictators. Reason carefully. Now,
so people, one thing, Ugandans, you know, when someone, and I see statements that come from Ugandans back home, they do not in America, individuals, in America, guns are not illegal.
Yes, they are.
You can go and buy a gun.
Right.
So most of these people who are involved in the shootings really bought these guns and they belong to them.
Right.
It is different because in Uganda, the law does not permit you to have guns. In America, there are gun shops. I can walk in and purchase a gun. And states like Texas, people you know,
Yeah,
at 18 years,
every day,
a kid can have a gun.
Absolutely.
People do not even question you. There are states where people can freely own guns. So in a country where owning a gun is okay, it's not illegal. In Uganda, if they found me with a gun.
The Second Amendment.
Yeah. In Uganda, if I was found with a gun, I'm telling you, I'm taken as a terrorist. I am taken as, you know, but in America, people move around with their guns. People purchase guns. But what happens is, as much as people purchase guns and have them, you have people having different medical conditions. People are depressed. People are having different medical conditions. You know, when you live in a country, people have different luxuries. Some people are having mental conditions. Just imagine someone with a mental condition went and bought a gun. And they wake up in the morning and feel like killing people. That's what is happening. A lot of people with mental conditions have guns. And because if you look at most of the shootings that have happened in America, people have these guns and they bought them. And there is no law that stops you from only buying one gun. You've seen in the videos, the guy who shot
Las Vegas
had over 30 guns. So people have guns, and that's a challenge. I don't want to be discussing Ugandans' problems and discuss, because America also has
its own issues.
And first of all, the fact that people can freely own guns, that's an issue. But here you have shootings happening in Uganda where even guns are illegal. Guns are not allowed to be, people are not allowed to have guns legally. So these illegal guns that are killing Ugandans, where are they coming from? But again, for us to even be able to ascertain where these guns come from, we've never gone a proper report of, okay, who killed exactly Kawesi, or if not even who killed him, which gun was used, where did it come from, where did it was it purchased from, is it an illegal gun, did it come out of the country, was it, we need, even if we don't get the killer, you have to have those specifications, the little details, so that you may know exactly what is happening. So people need to understand the difference, and again, people need to understand how the different dynamics of how things work in Uganda and whatever they want to mention, US and other countries.
Well, yeah, I want to give you. I want to start with Hira again. I'm still following up this story of this lady, and we're going to continue following up that story until we get to the final conclusion, sometime to come. Let's look at the list of the people who were killed. We have Major Chigundu, Sheikh Abdullah Kal Muaya, Sheikh Hassan Chiria. Now, all these are Muslims. Is it a trend that maybe these people who are trying to kill them, they want to just assassinate Muslims? Is there a problem between probably one, the state and the Muslims, or maybe it's a religious conflict, Christians wanting to kill Muslims? Or it's, what comes into your minds when you see such a trend?
Yeah, for such case, it's very hard to know the motive of any group, because for all the killings you've talked about, we've never known any of the killers, so we can't tell like what really was the motive.
And some have been exonerated.
Yes, exactly. Are they fighting? You know, are they having religious issues? Are they having political issues? Or is it propaganda? And also, is it staged by the state? Because also the state can stage such killings to create scenarios. So on the issue of the lady, because I haven't had a lot of information about the lady, but to me, I'll look at that lady in three categories. One, she could be right, that she has come out as a whistleblower, and so if she's right, do we have a law that protects whistleblowers in place?
Yeah, because a list of whistleblowers
for years and years, we are lacking such a law. But again, in countries that are developed like the US, once such a person comes up, the state will be very fast to protect that person, to give him security or her, and also to interrogate that person more to ensure that they get the answers to the questions that they have in their
Here's
bank.
one of the most
intriguing the second thing could be maybe the people who are saying that the person is mentally perturbed. They could be right. I'm not sure. So it could be also right that maybe she has some mental issues, that she needs health attention as soon as possible. Then the third one could be that she's staged by the state to ensure that she diverts Ugandans, because that's the game that Mr. Museveni is very good at. So Mr. Museveni now can create different scenarios from musicians. Now he's like, let me bring also someone to talk about the past killings so that Ugandans can focus on such issues and divert themselves from talking about Museveni and Bobby Wine.
Here,
because currently
the
hot topic has been about having a fundamental change, removing Mr. Museveni and getting someone new in office.
On that note, here,
very many presidents, usually tyrants like General Museveni, do such a thing. So this lady could be also set up.
We need to first look into this.
Saying these are allegations, like they are not confirmed.
What is being confirmed as a fact is she mentioned the name, and this person is at Makinde Barracks. Now let me give you what she said. Some of the people in this group include Medi Muswita, and for a fact, Medi Muswita is held at Makinde Barracks now as we speak.
Yes, but
now
what you have to know.
Secondly, she added there is another spy called Katerega. Some Ugandans know about this guy. You agree with me? That's a fact. Now, another fact in this story is that she told the then IGP of Uganda, General Kale Kaihura, and his response was, keep quiet. These are facts. Can somebody who is mentally ill give you such information?
When you say that it's a fact that she talked to General Kale Kaihura, then you have to hear it from Kale Kaihura to confirm that, yes, the lady talked to me. But without hearing from Kale Kaihura, then it's an allegation. We can't confirm, because it's only one person who has to confirm, Kale Kaihura. If he comes out tomorrow and he confirms that, yes, this lady talked to me, then we can take that her position to be right. But again,
and again.
Yes, but again, we have also to ensure that we shouldn't water down whatever she's saying. But look at this thing, because you're saying that she's talking about different spies. As I told you before, that with the three perspectives that look at this issue, she could be studied by the state. So the state, because how Sarah is talking about how mafias work, so they are going to pimp you with information. So you're going to say out things exactly the way you were told them to say them out. Remember very well when this lady who was accusing Dr. Kanukiza Besigye of raping her, the state was using her. They trained her what to say when the time came to court. So this same person, also the lady, could be, I'm not saying that it's the right thing, but it could be possible that also the state was training her. They told her, like, maybe say out some names. Because now we are in a banana republic, and sabotage is a very common thing that dictators use. So you never know, maybe it's a war within the police that are trying to fight themselves. It could be maybe the camp of the former IGP is trying to fight the incumbent IGP. So we can't tell exactly what's happening. And I think it's a matter of time, but we shall know the truth with time.
All right, thank you, guys. We want to remind you that this show is sponsored by Joe Malaika Fashion Design. He's one of the greatest guys we know in here in the United States amongst Ugandans who have really uplifted the flag in terms of designing celebrities. His dress, I mean, the clothes that are produced from his fashion company, they're outstanding. So we want to thank Joe Malaika for sponsoring Uganda at Crossroads show. And we encourage you guys, go and buy his clothes, go and buy his products. He's there for you. You should be there for him. Thank you so much. Now, we're still on this story. And the reason why is because of what many Ugandans can take as the injustice. And so that's why we're still lamenting on this. Now, another fact on the same story is that the lady showed Mama Fina threatening messages. Now, we are talking about a mad lady who was highlighted by police that she is maybe mentally ill, but showed messages collaborating with the message that was sent to Honorable say the Sekamati, I think? No, the honorable member from Rubaga North. Showing the list, yes, Honorable Kasivante, showing a list of all the victims. She saw the same letter to Mama Fina. Now, this is a collaborated message. This is the government staging a plot. according to some analysts, just as you've also said here. But facts were brought up. And the list continues. Johnny Zimla is a husband. That's for a fact. That a husband is for this lady. Engaged in these killings. Police has done nothing. So what do you have to say about that?
I told you already, people have Mama Fina. She has to be for her security. Mama Fina has to take this woman seriously, or very soon we'll be burying Mama Fina. And it will not be Mama Fina alone. Many are going to go down in that way. In this all, I'm praying for Bobby Wine to see that, you know, the good Lord, you know, covers him in his blood, because he's around, he's dealing in a mafia, he's in a mafia state where people don't take life as priority. So in that case, they have to take us, if the police does not take us seriously, because just imagine if police had listened to this lady before the killing of Chigundu, maybe they would have stopped the killing of Chigundu, because he went to the police and made a statement even before the killing of Chigundu. He told them what was going to happen. She told them what was being plotted and how it was going to be gunned down and where, and all the information. So they would have stopped. I saw what happened in Ginger yesterday when the police stopped some killing of some businessman they were going to kill. If really police was interested in saving the life of Chigundu, they would have intercepted this shooting. So Mama Fina has to be careful for her life, because you know, you don't take passively. Chirumia used to get this information, and for God's sake, he loudly talked about it. He openly talked about this information and said, yeah, I know I've been getting threatening messages, I'm going to be killed. And in the end, he was killed. So whoever is getting these threatening messages, whoever, they have to be vigilant, because police usually is very good coming in after.
Yeah.
The Ugandan police is not the best at preventing situations. They always come in. You see what happened in Lusanja. Police itself aided the evicting of over 1,000 people from the land. So police, in fact, I would say police is, sometimes you're going to find some of these murders, police is even aiding them, because you're going to find they're using police guns. And you asked him earlier about why is it Muslims. I think it's sometimes it's a coincidence, because Abiriga was, if you go into how Abiriga was killed completely. He's being a Muslim, and the reasons why he was killed are completely not correlated, because he was killed for reasons he was going to expose the mafias, like it or not. So Abiriga was killed for completely wrong reasons, completely different reasons from him being a Muslim. Chirumira, when you look at Chirumira was killed completely for reasons of wanting to expose the Kaukumin police. And it has nothing to do. It is just a coincidence that he was a Muslim. Even if Chirumira was Vincent, he would have still been murdered, because he was going to expose the mafias. So I think it's just a coincidence. But I've seen some of the Muslims who have been arrested. And I think that is also some kind of distraction, because I know there is a Muslim guy who was picked. I know one of the Muslim guys who was picked from his farm way down in Nachifuma, deep down. And in fact, one of my hobbies has been helping him rehabilitate his life. The guy was picked from the farm and being accused for killing Kawesi. Right. And right now, you know, he has been exonerated, he's free. But, you know, he's all having wounds on his body. They tortured the guy for not. And you see, that's what happens. Even before, the police in Uganda can't control what happens before. Even after, they keep on arresting the wrong people. Because I was having, I was hearing I was watching one of the programs of Tamale Mirundi, and he mentioned one of the guys who came up to say that he had seen the killers of Kawesi. Because he was killed during broad daylight, so, you know, whenever it happens, maybe someone was on the street. Right. After 2 days, his head was found in Masaka. Dead, right. No, his head. They found his head in Masaka. So, if someone comes up immediately and say, I have seen, why isn't he given state protection?
Arigoda, let's go for a short break. Coming up, education, Situator continues. Thank you.
Akakata kepe jagala ni byepe tayagala kusola mukola bwanti joya maluno nimya mukomboti jagala mukwano kuwapulenti kasumani waleti shomila mulwotulo ndago mukwano mulwotulo teri tulo teri tulo teri tulo teri tulo teri tulo
All right, so thank you so much from the short break. Joe Malaika is the official sponsor of Uganda at Crossroads. Don't forget to go and buy clothes from him. You can order online, you can call him, you can find him on social media. He'll be there to respond to your calls. And we thank you for watching our shows. We thank you for broadcasting with us. And we also thank you, our viewers, for the comments that are coming in. Now, tell us where you are. If you are in Africa, Middle East, if you are in Europe, United States, South America, tell us where you are and give us your comments. We are able to answer them as soon as possible, so that as our panelists are here to share with us what they have and what you have, tell us the developing stories. We'll be glad to hear from you. Uganda Crossroads here on Campfire TV, Life MTV Network. Thank you so much. Now, guys, aside from security, we want to close the show with the education that is going on in Uganda, how the education system. Recently, President Museveni made a statement that the graduates should engage themselves in performing arts and comedy. What do you guys have to say about it?
You see, you see the things that really amuse me of our president. You are speaking to people who have spent 5 years studying medicine. You are speaking to people who have spent 4 years studying for education. You're speaking to people who have spent maybe 4 years studying for veterinary medicine. You're speaking to lawyers. For someone to become a comedian, it is a talent. Comedians, it is within you. It is the funny, being funny, being able to make others laugh. It is within you. And some comedians, when they find and discover they have the talent, they go maybe to schools to brush it, to sharpen it, to take away the nerves, to become confident. It is so sad for a president of Uganda to sit, for God's sake, what was even doing there? We have so many important people, or people who care about Ugandans. I would be very glad to see Bobby Wine officiate the graduation of kids in Makerere, because it would speak sense into them. A president of Uganda, you're telling graduates who should be engaging in productivity in terms of their professions, to go and do comedy. Comedy is you're talking to people with no talent. What if someone doesn't have a talent? You're talking to lawyers. Instead of encouraging these young girls and boys to join, okay, you graduated, you're a teacher, join school, start teaching. Instead of encouraging them to grow skills in the things they've studied, you're telling them to join comedy. You're telling people to join music where you've put stringent laws. So why are people, it becomes so disheartening for a leader to discourage others from education. Because, sometimes it makes a lot of sense when our leaders speak with words of wisdom to encourage the young generation. But people have graduated. Someone is graduating with a degree in medicine after 6 years, and you're telling them to go and join comedy. Which comedy? Even someone who did not go to school can stand on stage and make people laugh with obscenity, with all that. Which comedy? You do not need a degree. Which comedy? You just need to have a talent. So why are you undermining people who went to school? And, I could be a lawyer, I could be a doctor when I have a talent. I can be, but that's a supplement. But do not stand up as a head of state, as someone who is supposed to be the most influential person in Uganda, as someone who's supposed to be respected, and talking to doctors, talking to lawyers, talking to guys from veterinary medicine, people who have studied veterinary medicine, talking to teachers, talking to urban planists, talking to engineers, talking to all these guys who are supposed to be gaining skills and becoming and joining the workforce of the country, because very well there are no jobs, and on their graduation day, on a day they are supposed to celebrate to join the workforce. You're telling them to go and join comedy.
Thank you.
I don't even understand where it is sometimes, sometimes with the issues that happen in Uganda, especially what the president says, I put a deaf ear because it is so sad.
All right, thank you so much. Now we are going to the comment minute or comment hour, and we are going to answer comments directly as they come in, questions as they come in.
Nice.
So, but before we go into that, I want to hear from Harry. What do you have to say about President Museveni's argument that graduates should go and join comedy?
Yes, this was the 69th graduation at Makerere University, and you see over 13,000 students graduated. Over 13,000 students. That speaks volumes, because we are in a country with very high rates of unemployment. Over 80% of the young people are unemployed in our country. But now 13,000 students are ready to join the labor force. Then ask yourself a question: where are they going to work? Just a week ago, you saw a line of Ugandans veiled up at the airport, ready to fly to the Gulf countries to do domestic jobs. Some of those girls you saw were, graduates, but because the system has not empowered them, they decided to look for greener pastures. They would rather do domestic work in a foreign country, in a Gulf country, than staying home.
Where they are treated like dogs.
Exactly, and they fend on peanuts. So the president has failed to reform the education sector. Because you see also briefly on that, Hilary, I think Museveni enjoys it when he sees young people who are going to become a problem for him go and being treated like dogs and being beaten and being raped in foreign countries. I think if he had a chance of carrying all the youth from Uganda and throwing them somewhere on some island, he would do that, because it's the biggest problem he has in Uganda. The youth were unemployed and very energetic with a lot of ambitions. They want to win, but they're losing all the time. Yes, exactly. As Sarah has told you. Yes. Now, to add on what Sarah has said, you see, today the world is calling upon the young generation to join the field of science and technology. But it's so surprising that the president of Uganda is calling upon the young generation to join comedy.
But there is a lot of money from the field.
No. You see, today technology is ruling.
Yeah.
Just don't go very far. Go to our neighbors, Rwanda. If Paul Kagame
Paul Kagame on a graduation day tell graduates to join comedy?
To join, the science and technology field in order to boost, to contribute positively to the economic growth of the country. And you're here telling Ugandans to join comedy, then who is empowering the young people? And who is disempowering the young people? What kind of future are you building for our country? Are we going to be able to compete with countries like China or USA? Because you're here, you're exposed. You see how technology is prioritized. Go to MIT here. You see how students are very good at IT, technology. So imagine you are at the international scene. You've brought a student from Makerere University, and you've brought a student from MIT. What results are you going to get? The two are incomparable. I mean, you can't put them on the same platform unless when you want to see disasters. So where is our country going today? Do you think the president of Uganda is empowering young people? I mean, Ugandans have to wake up, because if you call such a person to give a commencement speech on your graduation, and as graduates you also listen to such nonsense, you don't bore him, you don't chase him up,
I know.
You don't stand up and move away, then there is also a problem with the young generation. Because if I was on that graduation, I would stand up and walk away. That's an insult to the young generation. As Sarah has told you, I've spent 5 years in the medical school, 5 years or 6 years in the law school, and you're telling me nonsense to join comedy? That's the problem of
moreover, you're not even talented.
Exactly.
I have no talent,
because
and you want me to join comedy?
I think the president saw an opportunity
No.
in comedy.
No, why doesn't Museveni retire and join comedy?
Was supposed, because on such an event as the Fountain of Honor of our country, he was supposed to address the key issues that the students are facing. We are not being paid when we're doing internships, because Ugandan students at the universities, they want to be paid for the internships that they're doing. But if I'm working for a government ministry and the government ministry doesn't pay me for my internship, then that's wrong. So the president would maybe give promises to students that effective the next financial year, we are going to put a budget for all students who are working with government ministries. We are going to pay them as interns. But he's not doing that.
Or find a way of incorporating them into the workforce.
Yes,
how true is this statement?
Let me first add on, because education is crazy. It's rotten. The system is rotten. Now, you know very well that recently, very many students were speaking up. Their marks, the marks were missing, so they missed graduation as the Fountain of Honor.
By the way, for a second, you know there is a student who was being arrested at the graduation ceremony because he's one of the guys who has been speaking up. And on his graduation day, they came to pick him up in the tent, and the students failed. Police came. The students stopped the police from doing it because they all surrounded the student and said, "You're not taking him anywhere." Exactly. Not on his graduation day.
Exactly. Now he was supposed to address such issues. Now, for students who missed the graduation, what's the way forward? Are they going to get their transcripts, or they're going to repeat the third year? Because that's inconveniencing to the parents, and it also affects the students psychologically, because it also wastes time, because no one wants to be in school for life.
Let me first read this comment.
Because he had to also address other issues, not like the teachers or the lecturers. Because right now, the lecturers in all public institutions, universities, are demanding the government 25 billion Ugandan shillings. And the president is not talking about such issues. So can you reaffirm to the lecturers that I'm going to provide you the money? Because today, look at how much money has he dished out today?
In fact, the 2 billion given to Bebe Cool, it would have been paid to the teachers.
The 400 million
yes.
are given to Bebe Cool.
So today,
it would have been given to the teachers.
So that's why the president maybe is advocating for people to go into the...
Before we came to this show, the president was also being seen giving out checks to different group leaders or women leaders, millions and millions. I think today he has issued out over 6 billion. If you add
how true is the statement from Gento Jamal saying, investing money in school teachers, the thieves rather steal money to stay in power than buying skills from overseas and assist those with creative minds. But let me also add on what he said first. In Uganda, creative people are not wanted. Most government parastatals were sold off in 1986 to 87. Agriculture was destroyed. Cause cooperative unions, which looked for markets, were closed in 1998. So what does that statement tell you in regards to education?
Any government is going to fight creativity. Mainly the tyrant African governments. They all fight creativity. And again, also they fear students, studying history or studying political science, because you know very well that the government of Mr. Museveni, they scrapped off political science, because in O-level, while I was at St. Maria Great Katende, we used to study political science.
Yeah.
But again, because he knew that as these students are learning more about their country, they are learning more about the past regimes, they can rise up and fight my regime. So the best option is said, let's scrap off political education, because for him, he thought it's brainwashing young people or it's brainwashing students.
All right.
But I don't see myself being brainwashed when I studied
that was one of my best subjects.
And again, today, you see, we just had also results of PLE being released.
And kids performed very well, at 91%.
Today, I think each year, that's the same statement. Each year, they tell you they performed very well. Even during the era of the former education minister, General Jessica Alupo, You see, she could tell you that she performed very well. But remember very well, during the era of Jessica Alupo as the Minister of Education and Sports, her home in her district, Katakwi, was one of the poorest performing districts in Uganda. But now, since Janet Kataha Museveni, the incumbent Minister of Education and Sports, knew that Jessica Alupo, was criticized for her district, home district, to perform poorly. Now, what she did, because Kataha Janet Museveni comes from Ntungamo, so now she said, let me send more, better teachers. Let me equip our teachers to Ntungamo so that the district performs well.
Since we are in the comment hour, there is a very, probably could be one of the good things to talk about. Mimba Robert says, the government wants the youth to discuss about comedy, store, English, football, betting, etc., not about things which wake up their brains. What's your say, sir, about that?
Just like I told you, and let me just go back to a little bit. Let me touch the results that came out PLE. I've been reading today some of the first-class schools, Kampala parents and all that. For example, Kampala parents didn't get any first grade. So most of you would call the A-class schools performed really, really badly, and these are schools where parents are paying a lot of money.
Right.
So that's a worry for parents. Parents are really worried about what is happening to these schools. They're paying over 2 million shillings, and the kids are really performing badly. So the A-class schools where, you would have pride, my kid is studying from Ruhana, all those schools did not perform very well. So the government needs to check what is happening. Why and the first-class schools performing really well. Let's go back to comedy. The first person who needs to join comedy, if he could just choose to retire today, would be President Museveni. He's a comedian himself. You saw when he came up with Penkoni Kutere. So the things he could be doing for comedy. Yeah. He's a very good comedian because he lies a lot. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's really, and with old age comes a lot of wisdom. He would be a very good stand-up comedian.
Oh, so you would support President Museveni joining
yes,
comedy?
I think he should retire now and make money from comedy, because if you're telling a young mind who is 20 years old, who has just graduated from a law school, or who has just graduated with a medicine degree and with no talent, to become a comedian, with no talent, they cannot even be a musician, they can't sing, and you're telling them to go and join music and comedy, then you're really hurting these young people. They would expect you to say better. I'm a doctor. I cannot sing. I cannot perform. I'm not a comedian. What message do you have for me? He didn't have any message for those people who have no talent. But you see, when you look at comedy is more of kind of, people are just talking about, people make serious situations and make fun of serious situations. You've seen comedians in Uganda, they'll make fun of a woman who is so big. There's nothing fun about it. Obesity has never been fun, but they'll make fun of that. They'll make fun of a woman who is so tiny. They would make fun of a situation. You could just imagine. You see comedians making fun of either the Bobby Wine situation and all that is happening. So what I would say is it was really wrong. Maybe if he had started to say that those Ugandans, graduates, if you have a talent, if you're good, if you can sing, you can supplement your talents with your profession. You can be a lawyer and a musician. If you are a Ugandan and you can be, you have a talent, you can do comedy, supplement. But if you generalize and talk to every graduate and telling them to join comedy and join music, then, and coming to the comment from one of our viewers right now, he doesn't like productive people. He hates doctors. He hates intelligent people. He hates lawyers. He wants musicians who are going to sing about Kutama, blah, 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 all those nonsense. That's what he wants.
All right, so I want to thank you guys. Now, the very most important thing also here is that very soon we have seen Joe Malaika fashion shows here in USA, and they've been really very productive, very interesting. They've been really a life-changing factor to many Ugandans, whites, blacks, reds, whatever you would say. Joe Malaika fashion show is coming to Uganda. So for people who are in Middle East, who are in Canada, Europe, and you would wish to go back to Uganda, don't miss out. Go and watch. Go and be part of the fashion show that will just bring out the level of creativity that maybe President Museveni is talking about. That we need creative people. Though many analysts say no, he's not interested in that. But don't forget to go there. The dates and everything will be aired here on Live TV. Will tell you everything that goes on and how the plans have been staged and what we need to expect from that. So we expect to host John Marika soon to talk about the show. But now that we're answering questions that are coming or comments that are coming from
can I just say
Facebook?
briefly
Yes,
something
sure.
on the comment, the last comment you read,
Right.
Whereby someone said that President Museveni enjoys to see Ugandans talking more about comedy, talking more about sports betting. That's the right thing, because you see, in countries like Rwanda, President Paul Kagame does not tolerate the issues of gambling, because he knows that it's a very big disease to the development of the country. But today, if you come to Uganda, you see that we have very many sports betting companies that have opened, that have registered. The government knows it very well. If you go, just go to Makerere in Wandegeya and look at, as you're going to the main gate, just look at, actually around the Wandegeya market, you're going to see lots of sports betting outlets. And students are, just there. Students are betting tuition in order to multiply that amount of money, simply because they believe in, getting quick money. So they believe they have chances of getting quick money. You go to radio stations, you're going to hear issues of akapapula, everywhere, akapapula. You go to border borders,
So it's one of the
everyone
ways
is
of
talking about
creating,
akapapula.
more income for the people in Uganda.
Go to day schools, schools that have day programs, now like Marcos or Mango SS. So those students from Marcos, they will run straight to write akapapula. They will, at night, they're going to listen to Radio Kabozi, and they hear from akapapula. Did Manchester, lose to Chelsea? Did Chelsea, beat Arsenal?
It should be. I would like that to be a source of income for.
No, it's not.
No, but it's a very unproductive way.
Of winning a 1 to 10, if you're looking at
Exactly.
probability, it's about 1 to 10. So you can't say it's productive when students. Do you know how many students have missed graduation simply because they invested the money into sports betting?
They want to become billionaires in one day. So,
Yes,
we are concluding the
what
show.
are the chances?
very soon.
How many students have been successful?
So,
Right now, we don't believe that the government should come as fast, should act as fast as possible to regulate the sports betting, because it's killing the young generation. And once we don't act, I think we are killing our young generation.
all right. So, I would like to end the show by just talking a little bit about the NRM youths who striked recently. Just 1 second, and I would start with Sarah. We saw NRM youths coming out, and the allegations that actually these were police officers putting on yellow uniforms. We have no facts, but there are allegations that these are police officers. Just within a second, what's your
From the pictures I saw, because when the allegation came up, then their pictures started coming up when they're in the
Uniforms
black uniform. These are police officers. And it's really so absurd. So and I feel sorry for these police officers. They still earn peanuts. None of those police officers gets above 300,000. But you are engaging in something, because it is so funny. Why would I really take myself in arms to fight for a regime that pays me peanuts? I'm telling you, I would be arms up fighting. I don't mind Bebe Cool fighting from 7. He's getting a lot of money. In fact, I appreciate that he's putting up a very big show fighting the opposition, because I wouldn't pay you 1 billion and you sit back. But these police officers still earning 250,000, 300,000, and you're putting yourself in harm's way. You're being carried on to, police patrol, just because, you want. How much money did they pay them? I saw them here, the silent majority, not even 10 in numbers, going to. And that's what we talked about.
All right. So, yeah. So.
And briefly, what we talked about the other time was, you will not get Britain out of your politics when they still aid part of your budget.
All right.
The moment you want Britain to get out of your politics, stop accepting money from Britain. And I'm going to conclude by saying, Ugandans, you have to wake up. All the wetlands now are being taken by Chinese. Chinese are going to kill. By the time you wake up, you're going to start speaking ching ching chang chang. I will not be able to communicate with my mom in the language we understand. My mom will be telling me ching ching chang chang, and I'm lost because I'm not willing to learn Chinese. Ugandans have to wake up.
Right,
you're going to eat the fake eggs, the fake fish, the fake pineapples, the fake and Chinese. If you do not wake up, I mean, chased away the Indians for reasons. I read political education. So for reason it chased them away. Many of the reasons Amin gave were really for selfish reasons because they were really doing well. Most of the Indians were manning very well the industries, and when they left, the industries were shut down.
Right.
The Chinese are coming up and making pancakes in Kampala. Chinese are coming up and in all their businesses, they're paying Ugandans 2,000 shillings a day. And they are all speaking. They are bringing all the Chinese from China and they're speaking ching ching chang chang. So Ugandans, if you do not wake up and you stop the influx of Chinese in Uganda, you're going to wake up when all these people have taken over and you have nowhere to stay. You're going to wake up and you cannot even speak your mother tongue. You're speaking ching ching chang chang. Uganda is going to wake up. It's no longer called Uganda. It's called ching ching chang chang. You're going to wake up and you're singing the national anthem in Chinese.
All right,
if you do not, I'm telling you, there is nothing wrong being colonized by someone. You know, Uganda was colonized by Britain, but Britain did not destroy Uganda the way the Chinese are. They are so really determined to destroy Uganda. Because first of all, you have floodings in Uganda, even at a mere downpour. Chinese are now building in wetlands. Chinese are making pancakes. You're going to find Nakasero market is full of Chinese selling tomatoes and fake tomatoes. If you do not wake up and send it to the Chinese and make them pack, you're going to wake up when you cannot. Border riders, you're going to see them, Chinese driving, because borders come from China, most of them. They're going to be driving borders. Taxis, it will be conductors speaking to you ching ching chang chang in Chinese. You have to wake up.
All right, so
you're jobless, but these people are influxing. You know, it's an influx of Chinese coming to the country, but on top of entering to the country, they have introduced all these fake products that are going to kill many Ugandans.
Right. So, hearing your final take on that, and we'll be getting out of it.
I would be a bit different on that about the Chinese. You see, during the era of Idi Amin Dada in 1971-79, he expelled Indians from our country. And to Amin, the motive was he had a dream. So he had a dream that
they were milking a cow, they are not fed.
Uganda without feeding it. They were milking a cow without feeding it.
So in other words,
so he gave them an ultimatum of 90 days
right.
To leave the country. And you see, Ugandans took over the industries, the factories that were owned by the Indians, but they collapsed in a very short time simply because Ugandans didn't have the knowledge to run those factories. So I don't want to see the past events again folding back if we are to say no to the influence of Chinese. But again, back to the issue of the NRM guys who are anti-Dr. Paul Williams' position paper in the House of Commons in the UK.
I think in that scenario we saw the police actively showing its responsibility to protect the citizens of Uganda, and they stopped the demonstration. So police is fair.
Yes, you see, one, they could be having concerns because if you remember very well with the East African history, not very far to our neighbors in the East, that's Kenya. In 1923, they had the Devonshire White Paper. So the Kenyans were also fighting for the ownership of the Kenya highlands because the white settlers had occupied those Kenya highlands. And again, the Indians who were engaged in building the East African Railway, they found themselves stuck in Kenya after the construction of the railway. And now they also wanted to, they call them the Indian coolies. They also wanted to have access to the Kenyan highlands, but the white settlers couldn't allow them, neither the Kenyan settlers. So they had to write to the Secretary of Devonshire in United Kingdom,
right? So
to ensure that they give them ownership, access to that land, and also to ensure that they get representation in the Legislative Council, or what they used to call the Legico. So for those guys, I think now when they see that we people who second the position Dr. Paul took, they believe that we are simply also telling them that we have to go back to UK and ask for permission, just like the Kenyans did with the Von Scher white paper. But again, they're getting everything wrong, because as Sarah has told you, that we are, interdependent with UK. They need us, we need them. And again, you see that
isn't that
with
part of
this issue, because these guys, first of all, they were very violent towards our Uganda police, and you see the police was doing nothing to them. But again, if you
before you go on,
I just want to show you like the double standards of the Uganda police. Because the police is showing us that it's working for the government, not for the people. So we have the NRM police, not the Uganda police. When the ruling party members come out to to storm the parliament, they are not going to to beat them up the way people of different political ideologies are battered.
Quick question.
Look at how many times
did you see any tear gas track there when they were arresting these people?
I don't recall with the videos I watched. But again, if you look at events,
in fact,
like
they started
how
fighting
many times have they brutalized this councillor of
Mohammed Segirinya
Muhammad, I think the councillor of Kawempe. Yes, not once, not twice. And again, surprised me, because this was well coordinated by the NRM regime, because they wanted to show that, yes, we don't want foreign intervention in our politics. Let Ugandans sort out their own issues. But again, before they stormed the parliament, they met in a house. They had a meeting. They even ate a meal together.
Yeah,
they even took,
like any other demonstration,
together.
we have seen that happen before with
and
people power movement,
these guys are part of the Uganda police. So in other words, it's the Uganda police disguising to be part of the national
Ugandans who love their country,
the
right?
national resistance movement. And this is crazy. I mean, this is propaganda that we've seen time and again in this regime. That's why I told you that with Mr. Museveni, when it comes to such games, he's very good at them. But again, we thank the power of technology, because when cameras were there, they exposed that these were planned events. These guys were part of security. These guys were part of the army. These are ISO guys. So it is ISO and GISO that are putting on NRM shirts to disguise as NRM diehards, and that they're coming to storm the parliament, that they should do something about UK discussing the threat of democracy in our country, Uganda. So, and again, look at the spokesperson of the Uganda parliament. He was even already there to welcome this group. How many times have you seen the PR of the parliament waiting for different groups to get their petition?
Well, I think
from the opposition side, none. But this was well coordinated. They wanted to make news. They wanted to act out. And this is the comedy Mr. Museveni is talking about. And as we told you, Museveni is very good at comedy. So as Ugandans, I think we should look at that as nonsense. And they shouldn't even divert us from the key issues of rescuing our country from this tyrant, General Kaguta Museveni. So I think as Ugandans, you're going to see very many events that this government is going to use to divert us. So they're going to bring different things to divert you from talking about the real issues that are affecting Uganda, from talking about the reasons as to why we need a fundamental change as soon as possible. Because you see, we don't want to see what happened in Congo happening in Uganda, because today you see that the African Union is telling you we don't recognize the leadership of President Tshisekedi in Congo. So let Mr. Museveni pick lessons from the events that are happening in our continent. Can't he step aside and we get a new face for our country to move forward?
Right, so from there, I want to thank you guys for being part of this show again. I want to thank you for coming up and the views you've shared with the public. And back to the public, we want to thank you so much for the comments that have come in, that you've always shared with us, and the latest updates that you've always given us during the show. We want to thank you for sharing our programs to everywhere. And those who have been watching us from Africa, Middle East, South America, USA, Canada, we want to thank you and appreciate you so much. Keep sharing our programs, keep liking our programs. We are always here every Saturday, Uganda Crossroads, and more shows this year 2019 are coming. So keep watching, keep broadcasting, keep streaming with us, send us your comments, and those who want to advertise your businesses. Now, this is a platform watched by thousands and thousands of people. Don't lose the opportunity this year. Send us your products, tell us what you want to advertise. Take the opportunity. Here, I'm David Dubulwa, the host for now, Uganda Crossroads. Alex Nakato will be joining us very soon. Have a great week, a nice weekend, and a happy ending of this month, January. See you soon next weekend. Have a great time. Go work. Thank you, guys. Okay.